friends. Meet my dear friends, Nate and Em. I'm so happy to be with y'all here on Black Friday in America and day after Thanksgiving in America. And many of you find yourselves in other parts of the world, and wherever you are, whatever time of day it is, welcome. And Nate and Em, thanks you guys for joining the conversation. This is the Seeds Storyteller Series, where I, Sarah Davison-Tracy, invite people I know, love, and respect to share their story, to share what matters to them, what they're up to in the world, what's hard in the midst of what they're up to, what gives them hope on the hard days. And these dear friends and I went to lunch. We happen to live in the same city, which is quite a treat, a couple weeks ago, and they were sharing a story about being legal guardians of an extraordinary young man, Edwin, who has been seeking asylum here in America. And as they were telling their story, and my mind was being blown by so many things I didn't know, and love and awe at these two dear friends who are just, they didn't really plan. This wasn't part of the plan at the beginning of 2008. And so I just thought, man, we got to hear this story, because there's a lot that happens in our life that's not part of the plan, but it is, right? So we're going to get to that, but before we do, just a quick context. So our hope in this story time is that you find your story in the stories of Emily and Nate, that you are not just sitting back like learning in a detached way, but that you're like, pay attention to what makes your jaw tighten or tears come to your eyes, or what's captivating your heart and your soul and your mind. And please comment. We love to see the comments, and please share. It's awesome for us to be able to share the inspiration and the encouragement and the learning that we're all about together. So we're going to get to my dear friends, Nate and Em. But before we do, we're going to start, as we do, with a moment to be still, because I know a lot of y'all are traveling today and about everyday fullness of life. So before we get to this epic and amazing story, I just wanted to take a moment. I'm reading from my book, Soulfully Ablaze, a moment of inviting us to just pause and take a breath. So wherever you are, right here, right now, breathe. Inhale deeply, fully. Exhale deeply, fully. Close your eyes, soften your jaw, your eyebrows, and breathe. Do some gentle neck circles. Listen, look within. If there are places in your body where you're feeling tight, let go of worry. Notice. Imagine softening your furrowed brow, constricted stomach, or tight jaw. For a full breath cycle, close your eyes and breathe. Here and now, trust, just trust. Be open, let go, and be.
That's good.
So, again, Nate and Em, welcome. Facebook Live friends and replay friends, welcome. Would you guys start by introducing yourselves and this extraordinary young man, Edwin, to us, and tell us about him and about you and what has brought us to this conversation today?
Of course.
You go ahead.
You want to go ahead?
Well, you introduce yourself, and I'll introduce myself, and then you tell the story.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yes.
All right.
So I am Emily Duke. This is my husband, Nate. And we, as Sarah said, just got guardianship of a really wonderful soul named Edwin. He came to us from Honduras, and we just so happened to be the people who were bound to help him and support him on his journey. And we're excited to be here and share our story with you today.
Emily Duke Lappegaard.
Okay.
Okay, good. I'm Nate Ishii Lappegaard, and I'm along with this ride with my wife, Emily. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a son. We call him our surprise son, and he's my mom's surprise grandson and everybody's surprise nephew. Nobody saw it coming, and we just celebrated Thanksgiving all together as a family. So it's just been this space of gratitude and worry and reality. I think has been a good way to describe what like a heightened sense of reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, how did you meet Edwin and his family? Because you met him in the context of his family. And just because I think it's really important to notice, even from afar without knowing all the details, that you just were saying yes, step by step to the next thing. It wasn't like the big plan that you thought in the week of Thanksgiving you would be in court getting guardian of Edwin. It started many months ago. So will you take us back to April, was it?
Yeah.
Tell.
So like many of us, I get a lot of emails per day between my business and everything I'm up to in the world. And the vast majority of them, if they're not personal communication, are deleted. On this particular day, I got an email that was sent out to a list of, I imagine, tens of thousands of people. And it was sent from an organization, I believe called Love Resists, in collaboration with our church. And it basically said, there's a group of people who are traveling up from South America on foot and by train and by whatever means they have to get here. And they're seeking a better life, and they're fleeing whatever it is in their hometowns that has it be dangerous for them to be there. And they might need support, and we don't know exactly what that support is going to look like. But we're looking for people to collaborate with us and potentially support these people in whatever that may look like. So something about that email struck me, and I clicked through and said, yes, I'd be interested in learning more about what's going on here. And I got a phone call from the organization, and they said, we want to learn more about you and who you are, and share what's going on here and how we might be able to collaborate with you. You may get a call back from us, you may not. It could be in a few weeks, it could be in a few months, it could be in a few years. And we kind of left it at that. And no more than 2 weeks later, I got a call from the organization, and they said, we have a group of people who are down at the US border meeting the thousands of people that have been traveling via caravan from South America. And there's one family that we've chosen to pair you with, and it's a mom and 4 kids from Honduras. And she has your number sharpied on her arm, and she's now in detention. And they're counting on you to have a future here.
Wow.
I have a question for you. At what point in time in this timeline did you send me the email that said, I think it was an email that said, we're doing this social justice thing?
So anyone who knows Nate knows that he loves to talk on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all this stuff about politics and social justice and all this stuff. And my preference is to kind of stay back a little bit and do what I'm doing in my life and not be as outwardly spoken about this kind of stuff. And
I'm like, aren't we already? And then she's like, no, we're going to do this social justice thing.
Yeah, it's basically like, sit down, buckle up. I have this thing to tell you.
This is the beginning of the sequence of yeses.
Yeah.
Right.
So we talked about it as a family, and we talked about the massive unknowns that were in front of us if we were to take this on, and what their future looks like with and without us, and what our commitments are to the world and to our community and our family and our lifestyle, and all the things that we already have going on in our life. And I think it was pretty clear to us very quickly that knowing that there was a family and kids who needed us, despite the hardship that we would face and the uncertainty and the unknowns and the fear about bringing 5 people into our house and feeding and clothing and caring for all these people, I think inside of us, there was just a resounding yes, that of course we'll do this because this is what we're committed to for people. And we'll figure out the rest as we go.
For me, it was like a succession of yeses. And, you know, we were concerned. We live in Monument. We do have a house, like we're fortunate enough to have a house large enough to house people reasonably well for that amount of folks. But, you know, the challenge where we live is there's not a lot of resources where we live. And we knew that going in. We communicated that. It's so funny, too. We communicated that. We said, you know, we have the physical resources that we need, but we don't. There's not like community resources around here.
Right.
And I remember this, we were in that conversation, an email conversation back and forth with Serge, Stand Up for Racial Justice, who kind of facilitated the communication about whether or not this house was to be the best choice. And we were back and forth, and somehow with the timing of these things inside of that was when we got the email, oh, by the way, Olga's in detention in California, and her Emily's phone number was Sharpied on her arm. So it wasn't like we decided from the beginning that we were going to do all of it. It was just like this succession of, okay, we're willing to take a look at it. We're willing to get into conversation. Okay, now we have a family of 5 that's in detention. We're going to get a call from ICE. Now what do? Well, we say send them. Okay, well, now they have to get here. We buy plane tickets. We do this. We do that. So it was just like a gradual. It was really a gradual process. What we like to say is like just doing the next right thing as we saw it.
Yeah. And Olga is Edwin's mama. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And so they fly into Colorado in, was it May?
Yep.
Okay. And then just give us a quick, I know we can't go into the details, but how did it go from a family of 5 to now it's just Edwin living with y'all? So what happened in the process over the summer? With the rest of the family?
So they took their first plane flight ever from the detention center they were at in Texas to Colorado, and we picked them up
at the Colorado Springs Airport. Hi, come on home.
Wow.
And just again, like Nate was saying, kind of took it one step at a time. Like, what do you need right this moment?
Yes.
So we had dinner. Do you need clothes right now? What do you need for this next 12 hours since arriving? And we had kind of all the basic stuff that we thought they might need here. And then after that, for the next multiple months, it was just kind of a process of exploring what their goals are and why they came here and what they're looking for and how we can support them and what opportunities they have and what challenges they face. And I think that was a really difficult time for us because we had to explain to them a lot about our culture and the way our government is set up that no one wants to say to another human being, about why it's important to wear nice clothes to court and why it's going to be hard to get resources and why it's not going to be like you expected where you arrive and we're going to have shelter and food for you readily available and jobs to give you. None of that's available in the way that really is necessary for their survival.
We had a lot of community members at that phase really reach out and make some donations and really support us inside of those initial financial pieces, clothing, the plane tickets, the stuff that we just needed to kind of have them here in the house. And that was super helpful at the time. Yeah, and it was immediately like the conversations about materialism and really like how fundamentally this administration values profit over people, and how the supporters, it was just, and really understanding how the dialogue of the right about immigration impacted folks who are from countries other than the United States, who don't have this understanding of the way that it works here, and like what it was like for them to hear the things that folks were saying. And to come to the realization that like our government was taking kids away from their parents, and that Olga just missed that by a week. And they removed, fleeing domestic violence as a viable reason for asylum while they were in detention. So it was all those conversations were extremely difficult to have.
Yeah. And so ultimately, to answer your question, after months of exploration and working through all the options, Olga realized that it really wasn't viable for her to be here, be a single mom with 4 kids, the youngest still in diapers, work full time, have money to support them, money to send home. There was no feasible way for her to do that. So she decided that it was in her best interest to return home, be around family, be around a familiar culture. She has basic structures there. And once she made that choice, we did whatever we could to support her for her return. So sending money back to her family so they built up a farm full of animals, giving them all the resources we could so she could start a small business and sell things on the side of the road through her cart. So whatever we could do to help make life just that little bit easier once she arrived back home was where the conversation turned. And then for Edwin, looking at, how we can support him and knowing that his goals were different than his mom's, and opening that conversation for what the future for him might look like too.
Yeah. And really being in the space of wanting Olga and the kids to stay, but also honoring, Olga as a mother, as an autonomous, equal human being who has the right to make a choice about where she wants to live and the value system she wants her children raised with, which does factor into her choice to return to Honduras. And we worked with Olga to this is what we're willing to do and what do you want, and ultimately the choice that she made was that Edwin would stay and then she would return home with her 3 youngest children. And regardless of our opinion on the matter, we had to honor that choice, and we have.
Yeah.
Not without.
Nate, I just want to make sure folks know in the write-up we have a link that Nate and Emily have set up to really make that loop more sustainable for Olga, Edwin's mama. Can you tell people a little bit about the invitation to join in this kind of collective community of support for Olga and her family? And then there was something about if $1,000 is raised by the end of the year, there's going to be kind of an extra bonus that your company is going to put on top of that. So can you just give a quick little?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
So essentially what's we're looking at what it is to really lift this family out of poverty.
Yeah.
And Edwin, his goals are to complete high school, complete college, and secure a job in the United States that enables him to make enough money to have and grow a future for his family here and support his family back in Honduras. So we're committed to supporting him through that process. What we're noticing is that the biggest problem that we're dealing with Edwin, in addition to the trauma of just what it is to grow up in Honduras, is the cognitive dissonance comes from him living here and having to worry about the day-to-day needs of his family,
Yeah.
And his inability to work to support them and learn English and go to school at the same time. So we've created a Patreon where folks can contribute, called the Friends of the Caballeros, which is their family name. And folks can contribute anywhere from $5 a month to $100 a month. The idea is that if we each give a little, we can create a reliable and recurring revenue stream for Olga, which will enable her to pay for the basic health needs of her family, to ensure that they have a meal every day, and to be able to send the rest of the children to school instead of having them start working at 7 like Edwin had to.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about this is, I mean, the three of us have talked a good bit about bad models of charity and hierarchical philanthropy that is not about dignity. It's not about reciprocity and exchange. And what I love about this is it's very simple, grassroots. It's just friends helping friends. It's what we do for each other when we're in the bind, right? It's not charity. It's like, and the other thing that I think is very important is in the world today, there are so many big things happening that are really too big for an individual to do anything about. But it can feel so overwhelming sometimes to be like, good Lord, what do I do? How do I start? Where do I go? What I love about this is this is a simple yes, one step that can be made to make a difference. Hang on, my dog is, I'm so sorry, just one second, just one moment.
If you love Sarah Davison-Tracy, mash the like button right now. Mash the like button. She's not here right now, so we could say if you love her, mash it. Type it in the comments.
Oh my gosh, it doesn't ever fail. Whenever I hop on a live of any sort, a squirrel always comes outside and my dog's always crazy or she needs to go out. Sorry, forgive the interruption. So thank you.
Oh, perfect. This is life.
All of us into it. It's life. Which actually, can we use this interruption as a catalyst to touch on something that just was so brilliant that you shared right before we clicked live? Do you remember what you were talking about the thing that kept coming to mind as we were preparing for this?
Good.
Yeah. So at some point in my life, I made up this idea that people who are changing the world are solely focused on that their life is built around their ability to change the world, and everything they do has to do with that effort. And my experience, at least, has been far from that, that it feels so ordinary to me that I'm just this person who has to answer work emails and get on the phone with people and do my laundry and brush my teeth, and all of life still goes on, and we're doing this incredible thing. And so it's that juxtaposition that really struck me, that I don't know if this is what most people feel like, or we're just taking something on that is not typical for our position in life, but we're just people doing life every day and doing whatever we can to change the world one person at a time.
Yeah.
The difference making happens within the context of our normal life. I like what you said, brush my teeth, go to work.
Yeah.
Surprise son from Honduras.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, because otherwise we think those things disqualify us from being able to be a difference maker. We have this idea that people that make it's like somehow easy or part of the plan, or they have infinite resources,
or they have to be ready for it, and that's one of the things we were talking about today about what we wanted to create for folks was like this idea that $5 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, one click and $5 a month, and then all of a sudden there's real human beings on the other end of that get to go to school. And how cool is that? And I think one of the things that I've been moved by inside of this is that, it's been our ability to make a difference for this family, and for Edwin not standing in this, like we were ready, but like we just started doing it. And,
Yep.
and what we want other people to get from this is like, you don't have to be ready. You can just start.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do, just start, a little bit. And what we notice is it's just like starts to grow, because now we're aware of things we weren't aware of before, and we want to talk to folks, and we need help. So we ask for help, and by asking for help, folks get to learn about what's happening. And it's just like this little spark.
Yeah.
That one email that you answered is what turned into, and that's why we're here today, and it's super cool.
And I think even before that, if we look at where the conversation really started for us, it was years ago. I would say even inside of our relationship and finding each other and getting married and being really intentional about creating what we wanted our life to look like, and choosing to move out of the city for a life that felt more consistent with what we were committed to. So we have horses in our yard and we have acreage, and we bought this house years ago with the intention that we wanted community around us. And we talked to you about that from the very beginning, that we wanted this to be a space where people could come and find refuge if they needed to, and learn skills and have a reprieve from the world. And that was a conscious choice and a very clear conversation we had back then. And here we are today. And so I think, like Nate said, it all starts with one little thing, starting with as much as an intuition about what you want your life to look like, or what you're committed to, or how you want to be inspired, that can turn into so much more by just a series of choices.
Yeah.
Yes. So I want to make sure, because I love this. You guys, I asked you what 3 words are that give you hope in the midst of the real that you talked about, the interruptions, the unplanned, the everyday, the laundry, the teeth brushing, all of that, all of it. And you talked about these 3 words being possibility, love, and faith. And I'm curious, kind of part 1 is what's something, because we're committed to being real and kind of pulling the veil back in the midst of conversations about the incredible commitments that we all have, and the ways that I applaud what you guys are up to. Like, I would also love for people to know what's hard, and how does hope play into the hard for you guys?
We both have stories here, don't we?
Yeah.
What do you call it?
We both have stories here about this.
Okay.
I want to hear yours, or do you want me to go?
I mean, for me, the thing that comes up most strongly is, for the past few years, I've had multiple sclerosis. And it's not something that I talk about tremendously a lot. And it's something that is a part of what we're dealing with. And so that's been a totally unexpected road that we've gone down, starting just a few months after we got married. And I think it really is, it's just part of life. And it's another example of how life doesn't stop. And so while we're dealing with all of this and going to court and hosting family and having Thanksgiving and all of that, we're also having a conversation about medication and how the medication I'm supposed to go on, the FDA just released an announcement that it may actually be worse than never going on it in the first place. So for me, there's a conversation for self-care and health, and making choices that will support me being able to live fully and healthy and uninhibited in a way that is really real for us.
Yeah. I'm a person in recovery, and next month I'll be sober for 12 years in a row.
Yep.
And I'm a product of of a family that has alcoholism on all these sides. And, you know, my dad, he did the best he could and he did a rotten job. And I think what's hard for me is, you know, by taking this stand for Edwin, who, you know, I consider to be my son, and by just feeling this natural pull towards what it is to take care of and be for a human being, I'm left with my father's inability to act on those instincts, and what it must have been like for him and the impact that it had on myself and my brothers and my family. So, and the trauma, you know, and this beautiful blessing that I have this young man in my house who has witnessed horrors like most of us have never experienced, and how much I have in common with that. And it's dealing with the reality of what it is to be a human being, you know, and the cards we're dealt when we're kids. And it's just this, it's a lot of space to move through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, again, it just brings home that we're not these superhumans. We're not these people that have everything straightened out and all of our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted, and we just happen to have the perfect situation to be dealing with this. We don't. We just are two people who are committed to a lot of things and committed to people having access to new futures and committed to living lives we love and that inspire us and hopefully inspire others. And right now, this is what it looks like.
Yeah, man. Okay, we have to wrap up. But before we do, that is like the best segue into our wrap up. Before we do, we want to invite those that are listening to just take a beat, just take a moment and consider what seed has been planted in you, in Nate, Edwin's, Olga's, the story that our dear friends have shared with us today. And just consider, is there one thing? Because if we don't pause and consider and pay attention to the nudges, then we're just like consuming stories and consuming data, and just like, it doesn't change us, right? So I just invite you to consider what you want to think anew, what you want to do anew, how you want to be anew, just from, that's one consideration, or just what's something that you've been inspired by. Because we are convinced that these stories have ripples of impact, that whether it's a small one or like a tsunami ripple, it matters a lot. And I think inviting all of us to join the conversation as participants in, because we are all storytellers. I mean, for goodness sake, I believe each one of us are part of a Storyteller series of our lives, right? And so but just an invitation to comment what's stirring in you. And always, 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 I want to note that we are aware that we're all in such different seasons. And if you're in a really, really dark one, like a dark night of the soul, sort of kicked in the gut moment, we just want to make sure that you feel the love from the three of us. Yeah. That your pain and your story matters deeply, and an invitation to private message me just with any pings of prayer that you need. And with your permission, I'll share it with Nate and Em, because we believe in that. It's not about glitzy, glamorous stories here. This is about like the real stuff. So if you're listening, it's no accident that you're listening. And so comment and share with a friend, a live human being, flesh on it, like friend that you can talk about what you heard here. And I would love to hear, before we wrap up, one just closing, what's one thing on each of your hearts, in your spirits, in your minds, Nate and Em, that you would like to close with, whether it's something that you're committed to in your life, whether it's just a fire of one last nudge or invitation for folks. What would you like to each wrap with?
Go ahead.
You want me to go first? So I get it. It's been a rough couple of years for people who carry love in their hearts and love for people in the world. It's been a rough couple of years, and there is this influx of information and this what we're forced to do to be with the way that our country is right now, and what folks are saying, and just like how we're being left, and that can be so discouraging, and it can be so overwhelming, and it can be so deflating. And like, what I want to say is this is not how it has to be. It doesn't have to be this way. We have the power to change whatever we want to change about the world, and you have the power to change whatever you want to change about the world, and you don't have to change it all by yourself right now. The way to get to where we're trying to go is by each of us doing what we can when we can right now. And so it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter whether you want to do this or that, or you agree or disagree. It's just like, take that stand, that little stand right now, because you can. Yeah. You have the power to do it. Mm-hmm. And together, all of us can change this world into the thing we want it to be. We can.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I would say to listen to yourself and pay attention to what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and why, and what inspires you and what you care about in the world, and start to look at how you can take action around that, and start to look at why that matters to you and how you are uniquely positioned inside of this world to help someone that nobody else can. Because I firmly believe that we wouldn't be sitting here, and we wouldn't have the honor of helping Edwin and helping the Caballeros if we hadn't done that ourselves. And this is just one piece of our journey that, we're only a few years into. And I am excited for what our future brings and what else we can do to impact the world, and excited for everyone else who starts to tune in just a little bit more and start to make little choices around what it is that resonates with them. Because I think that that's the key to how they can go about helping the world too.
Wow, that's amazing. You guys inspire me and make me proud. And please, peeps, take note of in all of the write-up. I included links to some of the other endeavors that Nate and Emily are involved in. I mean, we'd need another couple hours to get into all the other good stuff that they're up to. So if you're drawn in, just have one of those fun, I call it like a internet like vortex, when I discover someone new and I find what they're up to online and make the personal connection. And please do it, because they are extraordinary human beings, and your life will be forever changed in that beautiful sort of way. So we'll just sign off with just a reminder that you are loved, you matter, you belong, we belong to each other. And when all those things just start weaving together, we stand tall and we light up the world together. So happy day after Thanksgiving to Americans, and so much love to each of you wherever you're coming from. Love you guys, and love you.
Thank you, Sarah. We love you.
Thank you.
Yes.